Hello everyone and welcome to the quick setup guide on the asset. So this is for the base building system. Thank you all for purchasing it, and I just want to give you guys a brief overview on how the folder structure is laid out and how to essentially get started. So first, I'd recommend navigating to the building demo map, and this is where you can spawn in. And in this map, you'll be able to quickly load in, and you can click tab to open up your inventory. You can click on any one of these different pieces. As you can see, there's tabs up here as well. Let's just click the floor piece. As you can see, your rotation depends on where you look, or you can manually rotate it based on clicking Q and E, and that also locks your rotation. And if you want to reset that, you can press 1 and it goes back to regular grid snap. So yeah, if you want to edit a piece, you can press F and click edit, and then you press F to confirm it. Or if you want to reset it back to normal, you can press right click and it will automatically reset. Now, only some pieces are editable. For example, the columns are not, and you can tweak all of those later on, and I'll show you where. You can use left click to interact, so you can open up different doors, and you can see. And yeah, so the railings are also editable, and as you can see, the recipe also pops up there. So if you also want to go into snap mode, what you can do is you can get a piece and you press 2, and as you can see now it kind of like freely places. And if you want to rotate, you can press Z to open up the snapping panel, as you can see on my left, and used A and D to control left and right, meaning the specific values, and you can use W and S to go up or down in the list. So let's just go totally free right now, and let's run up here. I'm going to place this piece right there, and then I'm going to apply all of the grid constraints. And now, as you can see, we have our own snapped grid. So this is essentially a local grid, and this, if I press 1, it goes back to world grid, and if you press 2, it goes back to snap grid. Now you can have multiple layers of snap grid. For example, let me do a wooden piece that's at a 45 like that. So now the way you go and basically pick between which snap grid you want to use is by pressing 2 on it. So for example, now we're on this snap grid, or if I press 2, we anchor the snap to this snap grid as well. So now we start building like that. These also have recipes as well. So yeah, so let's go through a quick little dive. You can see that there's the assets, the blueprints, collaborations, demo, and maps folder. The collaborations folder is empty, and the reason this is empty is because I'm going to be releasing a set of data assets for popular items on the asset and the marketplace. For example, Cinti Studios, I'm going to release a pack with their assets already set up. So you literally just import it, and boom, it has all the corresponding data assets already set up, and it will work immediately. So each placeable piece is configured in a data asset. And as you can see, the data asset has some UI, so you can have the name of the item that appears in your inventory. You could also have a thumbnail. It has some placement set up, for example, mesh offset vectors, and this is used if you have pieces with like different origins. For example, the origin for these pieces are here because they're constrained to a 512 by 512 by 384 grid. So we go back to here. There's also the recipe. For example, you can have your edit class and your edit tag. And if I just open up this really quickly, if I go into the recipes, you can see that there's a data table with the different types of recipes and the different materials as well that can be used. You can also see right here that the material is, you can see right here that the construction type, the material is stone. There's wood pieces, thatch, gray box pieces as well. You could also configure your own as well. Now, here's where we're going to set the mesh and then a placement sound effect. And this is used for literally every single one of the pieces, even the foliage pieces too. For example, if I just drag this out and I drag my data asset onto the piece data, you can see that this is now a big bush. And you can literally drag any piece like that. It's just awesome. Now there's different ways to organize all of this into the inventory. So if I go into the blueprints folder and then I go into the data assets folder within the blueprints folder, and I go into the inventory, you can see that I have my primary data asset demo. So this is where all of the different inventory configuration is set up. So as you can see, it pulls from this specific path, which is all within the game project, and it shows what to title that specific category. For example, right now it's named floors, and let me show you what that looks like. Floors. But I could also name this not floors, save it, and if I press play, it automatically updates. And that's super quick and easy to set up. As well, let me name this back to floors. What's also really nice about this way and the way I set it up is you can have the different items in here. So for example, you can order these however you want. So all you need to do for that is go into the assets, data assets folder, and then you can literally just delete it and then start dragging in like that the order that you want. For example, right now it's brick, wood, and then let's do wood and then brick like that. And you can also click and drag here to move them as well. And you can see that it orders it just like that. We also have a real-time 3D preview of each mesh, and it's all automatically set up depending on how these are configured, which is beautiful as well. And you can change the background color and configure it to your liking. Now, let's say we didn't want to set up every single item in here. We can just delete that, and guess what? It automatically just queries it. Now, this order is, I wouldn't say random, but it's not consistent. And that's why I like to just order it myself and just have everything set up manually. Now, the thumbnails. What if you don't have a way to generate these thumbnails? Well, I've set up a system for that. So the first use case or system is a secondary inventory option, which is the list display. And as you can see, you can drag left to right, and you can have as many tabs as you want. And you have a list display of each item with its real-time preview. And the second option that I set up, which I think you'll be very glad to hear, is I go into blueprints, go into 3D preview, a BP editor export. Now this is awesome. I'm so proud of it because we can generate in real time thumbnails. So this is the current directory that I have for the thumbnails. So as you can see, I have this directory opened up and it's currently empty. Well, let's say we wanted to generate a thumbnail of, let's say, our fire pit, or let's say a roof piece, and we wanted it to be the slanted with the window. So what we do is we click on it, we click right here, we drag our piece right there, we can double click on the render target so we can see what the thumbnail would look like. Here's where we can change some parameters. So let's say I want it to render at this angle, want my pitch of the camera to be like that, and then I want a vertical offset of, let's say there. Let's just also zoom out a little bit, maybe move it to left a little bit. Let's say I want that to be my preview image. Well, what you do, and let me show you, is you click export in real time, and it exports it, and boom. Now all you need to do is literally just drag it in to your project, automatically imports everything, and then now I can double click on my data asset. This was the old UI. Just drag it in, boom, save, and as you can see right now, we have the new one. Now let me just change it up a little bit so it's totally different, and I'm just gonna render it like that from the back, export it, re-import, and then click play. Boom. See? Totally different thumbnail. And the reason why I'm so happy with this feature is because if you're downloading assets off the asset store, you're not going to be able to render each single thumbnail in a transparent background in the application that you modeled them in. So this is just a super easy way for me to streamline that process for you. Now, the last thing I wanted to show you is a way to customize the building rules. For example, let's go back to blueprints. Let's go back to data assets, go into the rules folder, and here you can see the different types of rules. For example, let's open up the default, which is used in a first person style, and I can show you that right here. So if you expand everything right here, leave those retracted, you get some different parameters. For example, you get the max offset height. Now the offset is used for offsetting a piece up or down within a specific cell. For example, right now our offset height is 384, and if I press T and then I press E or Q, you can see that it offsets the piece. Now this is super useful because sometimes you want to look up and place it really high. Now you could also disable this feature, but that can all be done within the controls. So you can configure all the settings in here. For example, the max grid size, the horizontal and the vertical, the minimum grid sizes, and the max offset height as well. And then you can edit some of these different distances if you want the player to be able to place further or closer inwards. Here is where you set the data asset for the inventory. And then here are the visual settings, so you can change the color. For example, if I wanted the primary color to be red or to be pink and then the secondary color to be green, let me show you what that looks like. So let me grab the hay bale. As you can see, the rotation icon is pink and the grid is green. And the subgrid is always white because if not it gets really confusing, but that can be customized in the material by yourself if you'd like to do so, but I left it like that. Now we also have another mode known as RTS mode. So if I go into here and I really quickly just change this to use the RTS player, you can see that we have RTS mode. And then in here you use control and mouse wheel to go up and down, and use the scroll wheel to zoom. And if you select the piece, you can then place in a top-down styled game, which is awesome. So for example, I could use my middle mouse button to select this piece, delete the wall, maybe add, maybe let's do an extension. And what's really cool about this mode is you can also edit pieces just like you would in first person mode. For example, like that. And then you press F to confirm. Yeah. Just like that. And then, yeah, you can build just exactly how you normally would. So yeah, that's a quick rundown of all the features. There's saving and loading as well, that you would do in the game mode. I have them disconnected for now. I have them disconnected, but this is where you would save and load every time you play. For example, if I go and plug these both in now, you can see that if I make a change, for example, I grab this wooden floor and I build it all out here, and then I get some wooden walls, say like that, maybe edit those two as doors, and I press escape. I have exited, and then if I log back in, you can see that the changes have been saved. Now, one last thing that I would like to show you is the editor utility widget. So this communicates directly with the save file, and I have the world name, and I have the save game name as world. So if you'd like to change this within the code, you can do so, but the default is world. And what you can do is if you delete all of the pieces and click load from save, it will load all the pieces from your current save. Now what you could also do is you could also modify this in editor as well. For example, if I move these pieces up, maybe these here, and delete these two, I could then override the save by saving to slot. Now what this does is if I go back and I actually delete all the pieces in engine, it's going to load the save with the changes we made from the editor. So that allows you to create worlds in editor and save them to an actual save game file that can be played with. Anyway, I do appreciate you for purchasing this asset. I hope you really enjoy. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them on the Discord server. I'm going to be taking all those questions that are commonly asked and make a series of tutorial videos, and I'm going to upload them as need be. I'm also going to be working on any fixes if you guys come across any bugs or anything. But I hope you enjoy, and stay tuned for more updates.